With the recent success of Trackmania's newest game mode, Weekly Shorts, Nadeo is able to add another victory to their list of unique game modes in Trackmania 2020. However, for every Weekly Shorts, there has also been a stunt mode. To put it simply, with every successful new game mode, there is at least one or two that fail and are banished into the Shadow Realm by the community. These are the forgotten game modes, and these are what we're going to talk about today. What are these game modes? Why did they fail? And most importantly, can they be saved? Additionally, I will be scoring each game mode on enjoyability, popularity, and saveability in its current state. So without further ado, welcome to the Trackmania Graveyard. And I think when most people think of dead game modes in Trackmania, Royale is probably the first one that comes to mind. Royale initially released in 2021 and was presented to the players as a more arcade-style battle royale-esque take on Trackmania. It was also one of the only game modes where you could race on a team with your friends. This game mode had some initial hype, but the attention it received dwindled relatively quickly. But at the time, it still had a decent following, with a lot of people still very dedicated to the game mode itself. I mean, even when I started playing in 2023, I enjoyed some Royale from time to time. And I can see why I had a following, mostly because the tracks had a very unique style to them that were arcade-like and gimmicky in nature, but still, less and less people found themselves playing this game mode as time went on, and that's probably for three main reasons. The games are way too long, it never really felt competitive, and Trackmania players don't seem to really like team-related game modes. So what did the developers do? They made the games about the same length, lowered the teams from 20 to 13, added extra points for setting records on maps to make it more competitive in nature, and changed the scoring system so one person can carry the entire team to victory. Isn't that nice? And what did the community do? Well, either they still ignored the game mode, or they agreed with the remaining Royale players that the game mode was now ruined, thus making the game mode even less popular, which is actually a shame because Royale tracks can actually be super fun to play. Alright, real quick, I feel like I need to defend myself. When I said that the Royale maps were really good, I meant the old ones. I had to play a Royale match for the first time in forever just to get footage for this video, and every single map pack I played was not fun. I did not enjoy it, and one of them was literally a remake of campaign maps. I don't even know how that got approved, who approved that or whatever. But yeah, old Royale maps, awesome. New Royale maps, not so much. So with all that being said, how can they fix it? Well, I think it's safe to say that this game mode is a little too gimmicky for the majority of the community to play, and you already alienated the few players that did still play it, so I think your best option is to take Royale and put it over here. Overall, Royale gets a 4 out of 10 for enjoyability, a 2 out of 10 for popularity, and a 2 out of 10 for saveability. Up next, we have Stunt Mode, which is arguably the biggest game mode launch disaster Nadeo has ever seen and probably will ever see. This game mode was released in 2024 and it has been hated since launch. The idea didn't even feel that novel in concept, but you know, maybe it had potential. A game mode based on chaining tricks together like spins, flips, and stacking up as many points as possible before finishing the track. It didn't really fit the concept of Trackmania and its audience and their goals, but hey, maybe it'll work out after all. Wrong, because this might be the single worst rollout of a new game feature I have ever seen in any game. The UI explaining the rules looked super cluttered and had way too much info. The rules were fairly confusing for what should have been a simple game mode, and the tracks were uninspired to say the least. Now, I know this was a popular game mode on a different Trackmania game and people actually didn't mind it, but literally no one was playing this game mode after the first day of release. Also, they had a leaderboard, but there was only a certain maximum number of points you can get for a track, so everyone was just tied for first, which took away any form of competition that the game mode might have had. Overall, I just think that this game mode isn't really fit for Trackmania in its current state, and I actually couldn't think of anything to save this game mode. That is why enjoyability, popularity, and saveability are all getting a 1 out of 10. Speaking of single player modes, let's talk about platform mode. This was a mode that I actually remember being kind of excited for, but it ended up disappointing the community for a number of reasons. But let me explain the mode before I get into slandering it. Platform mode was released in 2024 and was essentially just normal Trackmania, but instead of trying to drive as quickly as possible, you would try to complete the track in the lowest number of attempts. Medals were also tracked by attempts and not time. So since they were focused on attempts instead of time, it allowed Nadeo to release some of their most difficult maps, and some of them were honestly super fun to play. And you know what? That isn't too bad, but I think where Nadeo went wrong is they didn't implement leaderboards into this game mode. If there is one thing that will make the Trackmania community hate your game mode and not play it, is if there's no way to be competitive and show you're better than everyone else. In my opinion, this game mode could very much still be saved if they just did the following. Implement a leaderboard, and not just implement a leaderboard, but have it work where everyone is ranked based off the number of attempts it takes to complete a track, and then the tiebreaker would be the amount of time it takes to complete the track. Now, I don't think this would make everyone play the game mode again, but it could definitely allow a platform community to grow and sustain itself on good old friendly competition. Overall, the game mode gets a 5 out of 10 for enjoyability, 2 out of 10 for popularity, and a 7 out of 10 for saveability. So this is the part of the video where we get into a section I would say are more hot takes than anything. And these are the hot takes because some people might argue these game modes aren't dead, but I think there is a valid argument if you just hear me out. So with that being said, let's talk about Ranked. Now, Ranked is still played by a decent number of people, but Trackmania is probably one of the few games where Ranked is not the most popular game mode, so let's talk about it. To get my point across, let me first explain how Ranked in Trackmania works. Essentially, Ranked in Trackmania is a 3v3 team-based game mode where the two teams run the same track over a series of rounds. The position a racer finishes determines their score for that round, and the team with more points at the end of the round wins a point. The first team to win 5 rounds wins the match. Also, if you get MVP by scoring the most points, you get a boost to your rating. At first, I really enjoyed this game mode, but I think this game mode actually suffers from an issue that is not talked about in the game that much. Most Trackmania players don't see value in playing team events and game modes. Why should my rank on a racing game depend on the teammates I have and how good they are? Trackmania tried to fix this by allowing MVPs to always gain points even if the team loses. But then why even have the teams in the first place? My solution? Make Ranked a 6 to 8 person free-for-all where you play to a certain point limit. That way, Ranked is solely based on individual performance to coincide with other popular competitive formats like Cup of the Day. I do think that with some changes, this game mode can be made into one of the most popular, so for scoring, I'm going to give enjoyability a 6 out of 10, popularity a 4 out of 10, and a saveability score of 9 out of 10. And the final game mode is reserved for a Trackmania classic. A game mode that used to be so popular it was the main way to play the game, but now it is really only used by streamers and other people to host events. And that game mode is online rooms. Now, I wasn't around for the glory days of Trackmania online rooms, but essentially it was where everyone went to play the game, meet new people, and hunt tracks. And nowadays, it feels like the rooms are mostly used by streamers to host events, and that's it. I kind of wish I was around for this time period of Trackmania, but I don't think this game mode needs saving per se. It just has the perception of being used for events, which isn't really a bad thing. In fact, I think it's actually a very good use of the game mode. And to be honest, even when I join these online rooms that are hosted by streamers, I still have a ton of fun. That's really all that's important at the end of the day. So overall, I'm gonna give enjoyability a 9 out of 10, popularity a 6 out of 10, and saveability a 0 out of 10 because honestly, kind of fine the way it is. Anyways, that is all the game modes I had for you guys today, so thanks for stopping by, and as always, till next time.